I bought over 40 items from TheRealReal in 2024. Here are my top 3 tips to help you shop smarter. If you've seen my recent video on my 2024 luxury favorites, which I'll link down below if you haven't seen it, you may have guessed that I quite like shopping on TheRealReal, especially clothing items. I know they have somewhat of a bad rep for having historically authenticity issues, especially with respect to bags. I also have a video discussing authenticity guarantees, which I'll also link down below. But after all, I do think that they have a lot of great deals and very unique pieces, which I really enjoy. So if you're thinking about buying on TheRealReal, or you've been doing it and want to keep on doing it, then keep on watching. Hello, welcome or welcome back. I love fashion, luxury, styling, and everything in between. So if you're into these topics too, then please consider subscribing and joining our little party here. I would say the first tip is patience is gold. And in this case, it's quite literal in the sense that if you have patience and you wait until the right timing, you can actually save quite a bit of money. Most items, based on my understanding, is they list it at an initial price, and then if the item doesn't get sold in the first 30 days, you see the little, real coupon that shows up on the listing page. So it goes into basically 20% off mode after 30 days if not sold. So if you see something that hasn't been discounted at all, you're willing to wait and you're not afraid to lose out that much, then you can always favorite the item and then just wait for it to go on sale. After 20%, some items directly go into 25 or 30, and then they get discounted all the way up to 70. But of course, at that point, assuming you're not the only person interested in the item, you're in the waiting game, but also if you really like it, you need to jump in and grab the item when it's actually discounted quite a bit. And so it does require some patience, but also just depending on how willing you are to let the item go in case someone else snatches it up. So I know this sort of discount rhythm applies to most items, except for some Hermes, Chanel, maybe fine jewelry, fine art. I do think that art and jewelry get discounted less often and less as in the amount. And also expensive Chanel and Hermes bags, it does seem like they do ask for approval from whoever's consigning it. And so they don't just automatically get into discount mode. And the other thing is, every now and then they have these special promotions. They usually happen on a weekend, so Saturdays and Sundays. And they would have these sort of, I think what they call is spend more, earn more. So for example, if you spend $500 that weekend, you might get $500 of credit to spend in the future. And there's a few tiers of that. So I think the lowest was if you spend $500, you might get $80 of credit. And so you can kind of wait until the next promotion, save all of the items that you want and just buy them all at once so that you get that extra credit towards potentially the next item. The caveat is you have to read the fine print. The credit is not immediately issued to you, which makes sense. They don't want you to be, getting the credit and then immediately spending the credit while returning the items that earned you the credit in the first place, right? So it makes sense. So usually, based on my experience, let's say I spend $2,500 this weekend, I don't return anything, the $500 credit would get issued to me about a month from the day of purchase. So I spent $2,500 during the promotion at the beginning of January. I'll probably get an email at the beginning of February telling me, here's your $500 credit, and you have, let's say, a week or so to spend it. Tricky thing is, I think that they actually just send you an email about it, so it's possible to miss that. And so read the fine print, keep an eye out, set a little reminder if you are counting on that credit to come your way and you didn't make any returns that would negate that credit. Keep an eye out for the email. Make sure you spend it within the allotted time. Usually it's about a week or so. And so those are just little tricks and tips to make sure that your patience pays off. And sometimes you can stack up those discounts too. So let's say you get 20% off on an item and then you bunch it up with other items to get the extra promotions for the additional credit. You can really get some nice savings there. And the number 2 tip I would say is you have to really know what you're looking for and how you're looking for it. Their description and categorization of items are not the best, are not the most accurate. And I think I read some reviews online, maybe by their employees, copywriters saying They have a very strict quota system, so each person has to write 70, 80, maybe more listings per day. And they also sometimes have to do authentication, which is just crazy. And as you can imagine, that causes a lot of inaccuracies, incorrectness in the descriptions. And so I would just say, don't just rely on the top line description. If it says size is small, still definitely check the actual measurements of the item. Not to say that the measurements are always correct, but sometimes they are just so off. It's worth double checking. And the other thing is just most of these items on TheRealReal are pre-loved, meaning they're all pre-loved, but most of them are used. And so when things are used, even if it's a brand you're familiar with, something that's brand new from the store, the sizing might be slightly different from something that someone has worn for a while and it's been worn in and loosened up. And so always check all of the information. They don't give you that information in the listing anyway, and so just read all of it. Make sure you know what you're getting. And then second is just make sure if you get a chance to see it in person, either because you're lucky enough to have one of their stores near you, or you just got it and you get a chance to see it in person, just make sure you double check the condition. I do think their description of the condition of the item can be very, very vague and sometimes just incomplete. It doesn't describe the condition completely, all of the flaws, right? And so when you get it, make sure, if you can, just check it immediately. So in case it's not what you expected in terms of condition or color or measurement, you get to return it. And then finally, on the topic of checking things in person, right? Like myself, I don't live in a place where I'm lucky enough to have access to one of their stores to check out things in person. But if you do, for bags that are over $2,000, the last time I checked, you can go into store and get them to ship it to your store without paying for it. So they would, let's say you're interested in a Louis Vuitton bag that's over $2,000 on their website. You can go into your store, ask one of the sales associate to actually ship that bag to the store so you can go check it out in person before you have to commit to buying it or pay for it. And so I think that's really a great advantage, because at least until recently, all of the bags on TheRealReal were not refundable, no exceptions, unless you can show them something really bad has happened. And the thought of having to commit to, without the chance to return, anything that can be quite expensive when it comes to designer bags was just very scary. And so I almost never, I probably never really bought designer bags on TheRealReal. I know that recently they added the refund guarantee, meaning you can basically pay for about like 10% of the price of the bag as an insurance policy. So even if it says it's final sale because it's a bag item, if you pay the extra 10%, you get a chance to return it within a limited period of time. But for the most part, it's non-refundable, and especially if you don't want to pay for that extra 10% of insurance policy, always make sure, if you can take advantage of the ships to store perk, you should do that, or just make sure you know what you're getting into. And the other side of this second tip is just to make sure, if you have specific things that you're looking for, like I do save a lot of searches, and I check them almost every day when I'm really obsessed with trying to find them. I would just make sure I set the searches very carefully. First of all, misspellings is, I think, a big issue. Let's say I'm interested in the Carmine lounge pants from the row. I saw a listing on that, and if I had saved the search for Carmine pants from the row, or even just Carmine, on my saved results, the hits would not have shown up, or maybe would not have shown up. As you can see here, they actually misspelled the name, the style of the pants. And so don't be too specific. Cast the white net so that you can catch potentially misspelled listings, miscategorized listings. And then finally, for this tip, I do think they have a lot of unique pieces. And so I really appreciate that they take the time to curate different collections, different feeds. And you can see here, they have something called rare finds, which I love browsing. I haven't bought anything that I found in the rare finds, little area, because they're usually more expensive, but they look just exquisite. They look, to me, like a normal person like me who hasn't gone to haute couture shows and been invited to VIP events or anything like that, To me, those pieces look like haute couture pieces or made to order pieces. They look like real gems that you just don't see very often. And so if you're someone who can take advantage of a piece like that because you have an event to go to, or if you're a collector for some reason, or you just want a very special piece that you can wear on special occasions or every day, hey, you do you. I think that's also a great place to look into and see if there's anything that fits your style and your size. And then the third tip, read the fine text. One of the biggest things that I always pay attention to is just the return policy. And as I mentioned earlier, the return policy for each item varies. Sometimes I think it's a 14-day return. For most items, I think it's a 14-day return policy, but some items are not refundable unless you pay extra for that insurance policy to return in a limited period of time. And I think everything actually, even if things that are generally refundable, if they are discounted at 40% or more, they become non-refundable. And so just be careful about the fine print, read the fine print, make sure you know what you're getting into. If you're okay with not refundable, make sure you read all the fine text, check out all the images. One thing I will also say is just, I've had pretty good experience with their customer service, which is not what I can say with a lot of online retailers. I've had some really bad experiences, but every time I have a question or an issue with TheRealReal, I literally just call their most general customer service number that I find out on Google, and I always get connected very quickly, and someone is always able to resolve the issue for me pretty quickly. And so I really do appreciate that in this day and age, to be able to talk to a human immediately without getting the runaround and actually getting to resolution is to me a very valuable piece of the experience of shopping on TheRealReal. For example, again, going back to kind of tying all of these things together, I think I bought a pair of Kate jeans on TheRealReal ones along with several other items. None of the other items worked out, but the pair of Kate jeans were gorgeous. They fit perfectly. I was so excited until I noticed that one of the belt loops in the back was completely detached on one end, meaning there's a gaping hole in the back of the jeans. And I was like, how did I miss this? Did I completely mess up and not read the condition correctly? Went back to the listing. It was listed at excellent, and it says no signs of wear. I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt. I have to think that, and the jeans otherwise look pretty brand new, in very good condition. And so I have to think that when whoever the consignor sent them the jeans, it looks to be very good condition, looks perfect, and that's why they listed it that way. But maybe that pair of jeans were purchased and returned maybe one or more times, and one of those times someone who was trying them on kind of ripped it without obviously telling TheRealReal about it. They returned it, TheRealReal didn't double check and update the listing, and so they just kept being listed at excellent condition, even though there was a gaping hole. And so as much as I love those jeans, there was no way you could have repaired it. And so I had to both return it, but also I had to get on the call, talk to someone and just let them know, hey, these arrived like this, even though it was excellent in the condition description, and I was assured that it was not an issue. And so I do appreciate that human touch, that being able to get to resolution relatively quickly. And so always make sure to rely on that if you are having issues with any of your orders or experiences with TheRealReal. So did you find this information helpful? Are you an avid TheRealReal shopper just like me? And do you have any advice for us? I would love to chat with you in the comments. Have a lovely day, and I will see you at the next video. Bye.